Hi there, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie getting underway here on Wednesday, middle of the week. I am Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. I was traveling yesterday, so I appreciate Debbie with your help, dear listeners, keeping the show moving right along and the show team as well. Today I am at Lamb Catholic Radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They are on several different signals on their radio network, and they're having their fall fund drive. So as Debbie and I always say, when it's that time of year, please be very, very generous. Indeed, in helping your Catholic station stay on the air. Hey, Deb, nice job yesterday. I heard the show went really well.
It did. It was really, really impactful. And we prayed for you, Jerry. Your voice sounds really strong.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think I'm going to make it through the week, but I don't know, for whatever reason, the last few pledge drives, maybe it's change of climate. It's 33 degrees today here in Sioux Falls, and it's going to be in the 80s where I live. So
wow.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, your body and your throat's not used to it. But, Jerry, I heard you had a lot of home remedies that were coming via email to you, so I hope you utilize some of those. Don't forget to take that teaspoon of olive oil that I suggested just to kind of coat your throat to make sure you can make it through. But I don't know if you've been using any of those home remedies, but they work, I will tell you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate, by the way, the emails that did come in. Thank you to everybody for your, first of all, for your prayers. But I love the Take Two with Jerry and Debbie family, Deb, because, yeah, people were suggesting, hey, try this, try that. And, you know, I really think it's helping because I've tried some of those things and, yeah, good. Hopefully my voice is going to hold up. But
well, more good news for you. We had some more sign-ups to the Stand Tall retreat yesterday.
Excellent.
Yeah, which I'm very excited about. We're about close to being a third full, which is it's going to go very fast. So I would just encourage our listeners to please check it out at Jerry and A-N-D, Jerry and Debbie, D-E-B-B-I-E. A lot of folks like to spell it with a Y because Jerry spells his with a Y, but I'm with an I-E. So jerryanddebbie.com. And you'll see the retreat agenda there. We made it very, hopefully we kept the cost down so you can afford it with your spouse or with a friend. And please sign up because it's really going to be, I believe, Jerry, a life-changing event. As a matter of fact, I've been praying a lot about it. And I think we're going to have maybe some surprises also to share just to help folks kind of just jumpstart their faith or to take their spiritual life to the next level. And I think it's going to be one of those retreats that just goes down in history. Am I setting this up way too?
Well, yeah, you're setting expectations pretty high. So let's hope the Holy Spirit shows up as we plan on him being there.
That's true. But today on Take Two, we're talking about feeling appreciated. And oh boy, we're going to be probably opening up a can of worms here because so many of us go through life in our homes and at our workplaces, doing a lot of things, going virtually unnoticed. And we may be feeling deep-seated resentment or frustration or anger of those feelings of not being appreciated or validated or affirmed in the efforts that we are making. So we're talking today about feeling appreciated. Do you feel appreciated at home and at work? And/or work? Or do you feel that you're just kind of being overlooked? I know there was that movie with Mel Gibson many years ago, Jerry, it was called, I think it's What Women Want or something of that nature. Rich Jesse's our king at looking up movies, but I think it's called What Women Want when Mel Gibson was in it. And there was this gal there that constantly was doing work at her office, and she kept in the cartoon bubble in her head, she kept saying, nobody cares, nobody notices, nobody's going to even see that I'm doing this. And it was just really, when finally Mel Gibson had this different altered life experience, he realized what she was saying in that interior self, what she was going through. And it says, Rich just said, I am correct. It's what women want. And all of a sudden he said, wow, she's going through her whole workday thinking nobody cares. Nobody even is acknowledging all the work she's doing. And it really had a strong kind of impact on the movie. And I'm wondering, dear listeners, do you feel that way? Call in and share what your thoughts and feelings and your experiences of this idea of being appreciated at home or at work. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, and as we always say on this program, we don't want to approach this topic or any topic in sort of a selfish way, like, hey, I'm doing all this work and nobody cares, and by golly, I'm going to get my rewards or my attention, because we know how selfless you are, our listeners, and we all should enter into family relationships and work relationships selflessly. But let's face it. I mean, there comes a point. There is going to come a point where you're going through all of your duties and responsibilities, and you do it with love, and you do it with great, hopefully, joy, and just to serve others. But that point is going to come when you're going, is anybody noticing? Does anybody care? And again, I think it's just a human tendency. It's a human need, actually. I would say. I don't know. Would you agree, Debbie? It's a human need to have sometimes at least a thank you, a validation, an affirmation. And sometimes we go through a lot of our lives and don't receive that. And right. We're just really asking the question today, has that ever caught up with you where maybe you just had some of those feelings? Perhaps you just wanted to quickly dismiss those ideas as saying, boy, that's just really being selfish of me or something. But I think those thoughts and feelings are going to surface.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you could look at the flip side of that, Jerry. I mean, let's really face facts and really, face the truth on this. When people are very quick to notice when things are not getting done. Very, very quickly, somebody will say, oh, wait a minute. I see something's not done here. And you're like, wait, whoa, hold on a minute. 90% of my work day or 90% of my day, I focused on all these positive things. Do you see that? But you pick out that tiny little speck that didn't happen or went wrong. And it's very interesting how we can very easily, human nature, we can find that little one thing that doesn't go right or that little fault, but yet we overlook all the beautiful, all the good that's happening around that. And I remember a priest one time at a wedding ceremony, he talked about that. He said in marriage, you better make sure you focus on all the good. And you that little dark spot in the relationship, you try very much not to focus on. And so I remember he spent the whole entire talk on that. And my husband, Marty, actually said, that really hit home with me, because it's easy to focus on that little spot that goes wrong. And, we're missing all the beauty and we should appreciate all the beauty that goes, that is happening all around us. So we're talking about that today, and we really want to hear from you because you drive the show. Jerry and I could talk for the entire hour. We've done that. And nobody wants to listen. So we want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396.
Well, I'll do that only if I will be validated and affirmed for talking. Nobody wants to hear me talk for a whole hour. I do it all the time. I'm doing it here at Lamb Radio and other pledge drives, but that's for the cause of encouraging people to support Catholic radio, and so many of you are doing that. But Debbie and I want to also let you know that we have a little bit of a technical issue with the toll-free phone number now.
I didn't know that.
So write this number down. You can get onto the program, but we've got to kind of do a workaround. EWTN technical crew are working on this right now. So it's 205-271-2985. Okay. 205-271-2985. And we'll repeat that several times here for you because it's a new phone number. But again, we're just having a little bit of a glitch with the toll-free system. Hopefully we'll have that kink worked out here real soon.
Jerry, that's what happened yesterday, and I just want to apologize to a lot of the folks from the Lamb Radio. There was a lot of calls that came in, and they unfortunately dropped because of the phone glitch we had yesterday. So please, if you see any of them when they come into the studio and they say, we tried to call into your show, they did. They made it on, but then they didn't stay on. So please apologize to them for us. And yeah, here's the number. So we, like Jerry said, we have to get around it a little. So here's the number again, 205-271-2985. That's the number to get on the show today. So please call in, share your experience about this. We're talking about feeling appreciated today. Do you feel appreciated? I mean, you don't have to brag about yourself, but just do you feel appreciated? I mean, there are many times I don't feel appreciated. I'll be the first one to say it. I do a lot of things. I tend to be a giver. Jerry knows that, right, Jerry? Right? Yes? Right. Okay.
That's correct.
And sometimes I don't feel appreciated. So if you feel like that, we want to hear from you. Make sure you use this special number we have today, 205-271-2985. 888-522-2985. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. We need to hear from you to make this show as great as it possibly can be.
This is Bishop John Brungart of the Diocese of Dodge City.
This is Colin Donovan, Vice President for Theology.
This is Father Larry Richards, host of Open Line Thursday. Thanks for listening to EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Third Millennium Media presents Debbie Georgianni.
The world tells us not to be merciful, and we as Catholic Christians are called to take a step back and look at it in a different way. We must practice mercy, especially if we want to receive mercy.
Debbie Georgianni, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, wants to visit your parish retreat or conference. Invite Debbie Georgianni today online at thirdmillenniummedia.com.
Podcasting is an easy way to automatically receive your favorite EWTN programs on your mobile device. Visit EWTN.com/podcast. and enjoy your favorite EWTN shows on your mobile phone right now.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
You do realize, of course, that when Jesus Christ said, "Call no man Father," he did not mean priests. And again, sometimes people go crazy over this word and says, "Oh, I won't dare call you Father because the Word of God says call no man Father." And it had nothing to do with it. They did not call priests at that time Father. St. Paul was the first one to use that term, "Am I not your Father who begot you?" But when Jesus sits there and uses this term, he's not saying that you shouldn't call any person on earth your father. It's in a teaching thing. What he meant was, you should not call that person who had sex with your mother and begot you your father, because they're not. That guy you call your dad, he's the sacrament of fatherhood. He's the instrument of fatherhood, but he's not your father. There's only one Father for everybody, God the Father.
So nice to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Thanks to our affiliates, one of them being Lamb Catholic Radio, which is where I am in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thanks to the great staff, the board, the volunteers here, and thanks to those of you who are donating to keep Catholic radio on the air. Please, please do that in your area. When you hear your station come on and say, "Hey, gang, we're listener supported," please understand that they definitely do need your support. And again, today we are talking about being affirmed and validated. And again, not just in a sort of a selfish, gosh, nobody ever cares about me or appreciates me, but we go through life. And I do think we need those attaboys or those attagirls every now and then just to kind of know we're on the right track. Especially, Debbie, you mentioned at home, this can happen in home relationships. But I think definitely at work, so many of us, how many people have you talked to and known, and you yourself and me too, Debbie, I'm sure, you just work your fingers to the bone and then all of a sudden you kind of get through a work week and you go, did my boss even know that I was not only doing my job but going above and beyond the call? So
right.
we just want to have a frank conversation about this. I think very human need that we all have.
Yeah, I think it's important to affirm one another, especially in this day and age where there's so much negativity, Jerry. There's we said earlier in the beginning of the show that so many times it's very easy to focus on the negative. It's very easy to focus on that tiny little dark speck that has gone wrong in the day, but you miss all the beauty around it. And so I think we need more. I like how you said attaboys and attagirls. I agree with you. And as a matter of fact, I think Dr. Phil, one of the experts in self-help, even said that it takes 1,000,000, what does he say? 1,000, not 1,000,000, 1,000 attaboys to make up for one negative comment. So
wow.
You need to, yeah. So think about, especially with your children. So let's talk about that. Maybe you're a young adult and you feel, feel appreciated in your family. Let's talk about it. Let's really try to work through it. This is where we really get real on this show, and we kind of get down and dirty when it comes to topics. And I like that because you don't want to gloss over things like this. I mean, I think we have to cover it from every angle. That's what Take Two is all about, right, Jerry? Remember when you envisioned it, you wanted a second look at things, a different look.
Right.
and a different angle. So it shapes how we come out of this hour together. Okay, so the normal, it says they are working on things now. Okay, so we don't have the normal phone number, the 1-800 number. So please, if you want to get on the show, can you write down this number and call in? Because remember, you lead the show. So if you sit it out and just be entertained by me and Jerry, that's not going to work. So here's the number, 205-271-2985. That's the number to get on the show.
Okay, love to hear from you. We do have phone lines open. Our regular call screener, Matt, is sitting by the telephone. We got Rich on the controls and Jeff on social media. Speaking of social media, if you happen to be viewing us on Facebook Live, the EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook page, post your comments, your takes there. We can certainly relay those here on the program. And we just were told that the number we just gave you isn't working either. So,
oh, wow.
Looks like you are stuck with me and Debbie today.
In that case, can I have like an open confession here?
Sure.
Is that okay? Well,
yeah.
I struggle with this topic, Jerry, because I know as Catholic Christians we're supposed to, remain humble and we're supposed to be doing the things that we do, the good things that we do, the giving things that we do. We do them for God, right? Ultimately, they're for God. Okay. But it does, Jerry, I struggle because it does feel good to get those thank yous. I mean, I have to be honest with you. When you sometimes even like if you'll send me an email and you'll say, "Hey, Deb, that was great work that you did today." That feels good. I don't know. I mean, is that wrong for me to? And it's not that I want that or I long for it, but when it comes in, it feels really great. It keeps you going. It's kind of like a shot in the arm that says, "Hey, I can keep moving forward." What do you think?
Well, like I said, it's very human. I mean, if we go through very much or a lot of our lives without getting some sort of affirmation or validation, there is absolutely, without question, resentment and frustration and things like that are going to enter in. And this is why a lot of people will change jobs, for example, or there are difficulty in relationships in the home or what have you. And so I think it requires of all of us, Debbie, if we're married, it requires of us to really be consciously attentive to what our spouse is doing, the little things, the big things, and provide those thanks and those affirmations. And sometimes it's easy just to kind of forget about that or neglect it, not out of not appreciating it, but just simply maybe forgetting to do so. So I think it's just a very natural human tendency to need to be told every now and then, hey, really appreciate it. Thanks for what you did. Really appreciate that.
Right. I just had a text message come in from a listener that just shared that they struggle with it as well, this feeling of resentment that they have for their spouse because they just said something to the effect of that they will go overboard to try to get their spouse to notice all the great things that they do. And for some reason, because their spouse is busy at work, or they're distracted, or they have their focus on other things, it's a husband. He just doesn't notice it, and she's getting more and more resentful. And so, I mean, like, what do you do in that case? Is she supposed to put a big sign out that says, "Hey, did you see I cleaned the whole house? Could you say thank you?" I mean, what are you supposed to do at that point? I guess you could have a frank discussion, sit down and say, "Honey, listen, it really would help me if you would notice, all the great things that I'm doing around the house." I guess you could do that, right?
Yeah, or just don't do it. Let the house become a pigsty, for a couple of weeks.
But then he would notice that.
Yeah, then that would be noticed, and then it would be complaints. Yeah, but
what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to mention, too, that if you've got a take on this topic, you can also text it in. You can text the letters EWTN to 55000. And you can, let us know what your thoughts are on this topic via text. Again, text the letters EWTN to 55000. And a small little data rate may apply. Just be aware of that.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Well, Jerry, okay, so back to this feeling appreciated. And going back, you said, you made the comment that people will switch their jobs. But that's true with anything. People always think the grass is always greener on the other side, and that's not always necessarily the case. I mean, don't you think there's some merit in trying to educate people on how to treat you? I think there is. Actually, Dr. Phil says there is too. Can you tell I was watching Dr. Phil last week? But no, here's the thing. I mean, you do have to kind of maybe teach people the way you want to be treated. Maybe that's ground rules that you set ahead of time when you go into a job or when you go into a relationship. Hey, you know what? This is what I need. I need those words of affirmation. Actually, that's in the 5 love languages. So yeah, I mean, maybe we need to do more of that to educate one another on how, what's the best practices on how to treat one another, especially with affirmations and validation. I think that could help. I don't know. Maybe guys don't need it as much as girls. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you know what? That's a very interesting question, and I'd love to hear from some guys who are listening right now, or ladies. Maybe it is a difference with the sexes. Women tend to be a little bit more, I guess, sensitive or emotional. Debbie, is that safe to say? And so,
yeah, that's fine.
I don't know.
It's okay today. Maybe tomorrow you can't say that.
No, guys need it too, though, I think. And, our good friend Tim Mateo posted on Facebook Live. Tim, good to be with you. Good to be on Facebook with you. And he says, there are times when we think also we do not make a difference or are appreciated, but in actuality we are. Sometimes the Spirit does not allow us to realize this in order to humble us. I like that, Tim. He said, as you said, we need to look at the good and not the bad. He says that Christopher's program does exactly this. The episode is called Another Link in the Chain with James Cagney. But good point by Tim there, Debbie. This ties very clearly and definitely into the spiritual life, because we don't want to do things for show or to be appreciated. Jesus said, when you pray, go into your closet, pray to your Heavenly Father. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So I think there is that whole virtue, humility, growth, and holiness aspect that it seems like Tim is pointing out for us here.
Right. I'm a big advocate for pleases and thank yous. I really am. I have to tell you that, Jerry. I think we don't hear enough of it. I don't think we hear enough thank yous. Maybe we just need to practice it, because we are in a world. I mean, right now we're in a world, let's face it, we're in a world where there's a lot of takers, and it's a throwaway society, and it's quick, and it's just moving to the next thing very fast, and we don't take that time to appreciate what's in front of us. And I'm not saying for all of us, but just in general, that's kind of how this world is functioning right now. And maybe we just need to kind of step back and say, no, you know what, we are gonna appreciate everything. Like, for instance, I will tell you this, Jerry, I very much appreciate the Take Two family, and let me can I share with you why? They tend to be very loving, giving, prayerful, very active in each other's lives. When a call comes in and somebody shares from their heart and they're really struggling, Jerry, you know exactly what happens after the show. Okay, we get just flooded with emails saying, can you tell John that I'm praying for him? Can you tell John that, if he needs any help, I'm here for him? Can you tell John he's not alone? I went through that situation. It's such a beautiful family. And, I just wish we could bottle the Take Two family. I say that all the time, but wish we could bottle it and send it around the whole entire world. Because if we had more of that kindness and that love and that care and the way everybody cares for one another, we would have a much more beautiful existence as the family of God. So, I appreciate the Take Two family very much.
Well, I do too, and I'm glad that you pointed that out. And just want to, again, remind people you can get a hold of us today via text. You can text the letters EWTN to 55000. We heard from Tim on Facebook Live. We're also on EWTN's YouTube channel, and you can post your comments there. We're talking about feeling validated or appreciated both at home and in the workplace. And again, you can text us the letters EWTN to 55000. And I love the way you pointed that out, though, Debbie, how, I think all Catholic radio listeners are like that, but there's definitely a special, I think our listeners on this show definitely feel a special connection to one another. In fact, they'll call even during the program, especially if someone's going through a tough time and they say, hey, just want to make sure that, so-and-so knows that I'm praying for them. They're not alone. I've been through the same thing. So it really is kind of neat.
It is. It's a beautiful family. Jerry, can we kind of transition just for a moment back to the Stand Tall retreat? Because I think it ties in very nicely to this idea of feeling appreciated. One of the reasons that the Stand Tall concept came about was this idea of really understanding who we are as God's children, and how we relate to God, and our purpose in life, and how we are to go out into the world and be the best we can possibly be with a very confident stance, not a prideful stance, but a very, confident in knowing who we are and created in God's image and likeness. And I just wanted to share a little bit more about that, Jerry, because, right now it is registration time for the Stand Tall retreat. Please, if you'd like to go to jerryanddebbie.com, you can see all the details there. But I just want you to comment when we come back, Jerry, just a little bit about how that came to be, the concept, because I think it's a movement. And I think it's going to continue to grow, especially throughout the Catholic circles. So when we come back, I'd love to hear Jerry's response on this on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Many sisters, brothers, and religious order priests served for little pay, and now their communities lack retirement funds.
I spent 34 years as a teacher.
I just loved interacting with the students.
Gifts to the Retirement Fund for Religious help provide for medications, nursing care, and more. An annual collection is held in parishes across the nation.
I always remember you in my prayers.
Please give to those who have given a lifetime. Visit retiredreligious.org.
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
He's not on drugs. Parents will come into my office and describe a litany of trouble about this long. Then they'll say this: I'm giving you the wrong impression. Overall, he's a pretty good kid. How so? Well, he's not on drugs or anything like that. One of the new moral high bars out there, he's not on drugs. You want to raise a child not with the absence of pathology, but with the presence of virtue. She's miserable with me, but she treats everybody else great. Again, not the absence of bad behavior, but the presence of good behavior. He's not on drugs? It's a rationale. May provide some comfort. It's not a path to virtue.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
I just want to share that 5 years ago, my lovely warrior princess and saint of a wife and I decided to adopt a little girl through foster care. She is the perfect round out of our family of 3 boys and her. Yes, there are challenges. Very grateful today for all the blessings that he has shown our family.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're talking about feeling appreciated today. And before the break, I was asking Jerry of how the idea of the Stand Tall retreat came to be. And I want you just kind of give a little bit of a background, Jerry, for our listeners, so that if they're trying to discern whether or not they should attend the retreat, maybe they will see that it's a good fit for them.
Well, I was really blessed when you told me that Brother Marion, who is the retreat master at St. Bernard Abbey in Coleman, Alabama, where we're having this first Stand Tall retreat, let you know that we're about a third booked right now, and that's pretty good, actually, about 2 weeks into open registration. So there's no doubt that this is going to, it looks like, fill up. We can accommodate about 90 people. But one of the reasons that we chose St. Bernard Abbey is it's in Coleman, Alabama, and we can have a weekend together of just really coming together and fellowship and faith and trying to better understand who we are, made in the image and likeness of God. And we have the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament at Hansville, where Mother Angelica is laid to rest, along with her other sisters who have passed away. Beautiful. If you've never been to the Shrine, you really can make this, I think, a pilgrimage in addition to the retreat. So perhaps, I'm sure, Debbie, some people are planning to spend the weekend with us, but also maybe a few days before or after and get tours of EWTN and stay down there a little bit longer. But I think the whole idea of stand tall, I mean, the Bible talks about, standing before the Lord and your face is not blushing with shame and not being weighed down. And we don't want to be weighed down by some of our life experiences, some of which are negative and traumatic and painful. And the problem is, I think a lot of people, the way I like to put it is, many of us walk through life and we're kind of hunched over spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. Some of these things just beat us down and they weigh on us, whether we know it or not. Maybe we're not even aware of it. And we don't want to stand tall, like you said, Debbie, in a sense of I'm self-important. I'm really great. Look at me, our chest stuck out, anything like that. Mm-hmm. But the way we want to stand tall is just in recognizing who God made us to be. And we know that we can stand tall in that and take pride in it, not be prideful, but take pride in it. Why? How do we know that? Because God sent Jesus to die for us. All right, we fell into sin, original sin, but God loved us so much and he values us so much. We have so much inherent worth and dignity that he sent the second person of the Trinity, his beloved Son, to die on the cross for us so that we might have eternal life. So we're better off now than we were before Adam and Eve fell, even at creation. So God wants us to recognize this dignity, this self-worth that we have to properly love ourselves. What does the Bible say? Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And I think there's a dearth, a lacking of self-love in the world today. So again, we're not going to come together and just say, celebrate ourselves and so forth. But what we want to do is try and shed some of those things, Debbie, that keep us just simply from living the fullest life possible that God has for us, that purpose, that passion that God has created us to live. So that's the whole idea behind the theme Stand Tall, and it looks like it's resonating because, like you said, people are already signing up in quite a large number.
Right. So jerryanddebbie.com if you want more information or to sign up. And this is why I keep saying it's going to be life-changing, because just when I hear Jerry speaking about it, it makes me feel really good inside. I just feel like, wow, this is going to be one of those experiences that you walk away changed. Okay, Jerry, I just got another text message. I hope I'm reading it correctly. It says that that they agree with what I said about how we need to teach others how to treat us. But it does go both ways. They were saying about the example that I used about the wife that does so much to get their husband's attention and he's not really noticing it, is the wife acknowledging his hard work as well. So I just got a text message. I hope I'm reading it the right way. It said that she needs to acknowledge his work as well. That's true. It goes both ways. We have to acknowledge one another. We have to acknowledge our children in our families, our extended families, our friends, our community. How about our neighbors? Do we ever just say to her? I've said to my neighbor a few times, like they wheel in our garbage cans sometimes because I'm traveling, and I'll always go over and knock on their door and I'll say, "Thanks so much for bringing in the garbage can. That is so sweet of you." And I mean, I think we need more of that, don't you think?
I really do. Yeah, and I appreciate that in neighbors and people who really, without even being asked to do something, will take the initiative and do something, a favor for us like that. And I would also be curious to know if there's anyone who has a take on this, and that is maybe you've thanked somebody, affirmed them, validated them, even when they did something poorly. And I'm thinking, Debbie, for example, of parents with kids. Kids, and it's not that they do it poorly; they just don't have the skills developed yet. Kids will do a drawing or a painting, or they'll give their best effort. And parents will say, "Honey, that was just fantastic," because that's so important to the self-esteem and to the building up, especially of our kids. But even, Debbie, I think this can happen even with adults. Sometimes we can do somebody such a great favor if they're trying really hard to serve us in some way, and they do something and you're going, well, that didn't quite go as well as I would have done it, or as I think it should have gone, but still you take the time and you say to them, you know what, that was really, really spectacular. That was fantastic. So
that's a good point. I never thought of that. Now you're making me think of when I was raising the kids. It was hilarious because your kids can't be good at all sports, but there were certain ones that they loved. Like, so they really picked soccer, and you just watched them play out there, and they were just lousy. But what were you supposed to say? Oh, honey, that was really great. Oh, honey, that was really great. You're going to be a soccer star someday, or as they come off the field, do you say, honey, have you ever thought about taking up baseball? Or how about golf, honey? Golf is a great sport. But I agree with you, Jerry. It's really, you want to encourage those, for the effort that they make. But it's really interesting. You're right, because you do a lot of that as you're raising kids. I will tell you that you do a lot of affirming, just for the effort.
Yeah, and like I said, that really should be done. That needs to be done because, they're not doing it based on a developed skill set per se, but they're doing it because they want to please. They want to learn. They want to grow. They want to be affirmed. And so I think that's beautiful on the part of parents. Today you can reach us via text. Text the letters EWTN to 55000. You can email us, take the number 2 at EWTN.com. YouTube channel as well. And Facebook Live. And Debbie, we got a couple of text messages here. One is from Eddie, who listens on Iowa Catholic Radio. Mm-hmm. Eddie says, after 15 years of marriage, there are too many times that I feel my family does not appreciate all that I do. It feels good when someone says that I'm doing a good job, but at home they're silent. How can I get them to express their appreciation? That's from Eddie.
Wow. So wait a minute. So the family at home, he does a lot, but the family doesn't say it? Is that what Eddie's saying?
Yeah, he says his family does not appreciate what he does, and he's just wondering how he can maybe get them to feel a little bit more appreciative.
What do you think? You go first.
I defer to you. No, I think you mentioned the key earlier. I think it's communication. As everyone who listens to the show knows, I've not been married, so I haven't had that spousal relationship. But it seems to me, Debbie, and you can certainly attest to this, that communication within marriage is so vitally important. And if a couple, I would have to think, if a husband and a wife have a good, solid, healthy relationship, then communication hopefully is ongoing. But if you bring up something like this that could potentially be uncomfortable, it's not going to cause any kind of a blow up or a strain or anything. And that's what I would hope for Eddie in this situation, Debbie, is that he could maybe talk to his wife or whatever other family members he's referring to here, and just maybe just bring up the point that I'm not looking for a trophy or or anything like that, but just maybe just I hope that you all appreciate some of the things that I do.
Right. No, I agree. That's a great way to keep those open lines of communication and just to express how he feels. But there's also a life skills exercise you can do. So Eddie, if you're listening, there's a life skills that you can do with your family, your spouse, or your whole entire family. And that's where everybody gets a piece of paper and you sit in a circle and you just, basically it's real simple. You just, you write down all the great things, the great things that the other family members have contributed to the family, to the just to the household, to everything, all the great things that everybody has done, and you have people make a list. It's all the positives. So my wife is a fabulous cook. My wife keeps the house just beautiful. My wife is a great person that likes to save money in the family and cut coupons and everything and all that kind of stuff. My husband goes out and he does the yard so beautifully. So he manicures, the grass so perfectly. And you just make these gigantic lists and you time it. You go, it's for 10 minutes. You have to write as many things as fast as possible. And the reason why you do it in a time constraint is because when you're pressured to think about somebody that quickly, all these very quick things, reminders, subconscious things start coming out real fast. If you have a lot of time, you may even make up things because you're just trying to put things down on paper. But if you only have like 10 minutes, you're going to be writing things fast and furiously. Okay. And you put it all down and then everybody gets to either read them or you can switch papers and the other person reads for another person. And it's really a beautiful way to bringing to light all the great contributions that the family has made. It's a great exercise. What do you think, Jer?
Well, I was just laughing as you were saying that. I think it is a fantastic exercise. I would just hate to see it if a husband and wife sat down, across from each other and, you gave them that time limit to write down all the great things about the other one. And one of them had their pencil kind of poked into their cheek, kind of going, let me see here. That's a hard one.
Yeah, that would be like on the road to divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be. But think about it though, Jerry. When you have 10 minutes, you're really thinking very fast, and you start to think of all the great things. You really do. It takes away a lot of the pressure in the sense that you're not thinking of all the resentment and maybe arguments you've had and things like that. You're just thinking of the good, and when you focus on that, it expands. So I don't know, Eddie. That just try that out. See, you try that exercise, and then let us know if it worked. Because if it worked, we'll continue to be, communicating it. If not, we'll scratch that right off the list.
All right, take two with Jerry and Debbie talking about feeling validated or appreciated today. Again, not really as an end for its own sake, but just simply because, we hopefully are selfless in serving other people. And we want to affirm and really show appreciation for what others do for us. And sometimes we just go through a period of life or along maybe our job or in the family and just don't get those little confirmations or affirmations. So you can share your take by texting EWTN to 55000, emailing us at take2@EWTN.com, or by posting on Facebook or YouTube channel. And Debbie, if I may, I'm just going to make a mention of EWTN Publishing's one of their latest great books that's come out. Father Charles Connor, those who listen to EWTN radio and watch EWTN on TV will be very familiar with Father Connor. He is a Catholic priest, of course, and just a world-renowned historian, too. And he has written a history of Catholicism in the 13 colonies, and it's called Pioneer Priests and Makeshift Altars. And I'm fascinated by these kinds of books, Debbie, because we have sort of our sanitized current experience of Catholicism in this country, with parishes, really, nice parishes, and, in some cities a parish on every street corner and so forth. But early in the history of this country, Catholicism, it was not easy. It was not easy being a Catholic, especially a priest. And so Father Connor has done us a real favor in writing this book. Again, it's called Pioneer Priests and Makeshift Altars, A History of Catholicism in the 13 Colonies, available from EWTN Publishing. Best place to go for that, I would say, is probably EWTNRC.com.
Wonderful. Okay. There goes. See, I'm getting fax. See, my husband plugged the fax machine back in. Every time I unplug it, he plugs it back in. Okay, Peg just texted in and asked this question. This is interesting, Jerry. How do you suggest I respond when I try to point things out to my husband and he responds instead with a list of things I didn't do? This is what we talked about. This is interesting. Or he keeps score, for example. He did this, balances, I did. Okay, so it goes on. He
did this, which balances out, I did that. Yeah.
Right, so he keeps score, like a tit for tat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a counselor, but I will tell you this because I actually, my former husband and I went to counseling over this because we used to play tit for tat. It's not good. The counselor said it's actually it's not a good practice in a marriage. I would suggest, possibly some counseling, Peg, because that can really be irritating. I will tell you, it's very difficult to play that game, and it is a game. And it's not necessary. I mean, you're in this together. You're not, if you play tit for tat, one wins and one loses. And that's not what a marriage should be. It should be a win-win. That's the reason why arguments in marriage, I think, are very destructive, because there's a winner and there's a loser. You want to walk away from a conflict where both feel validated and both feel like they've won, if you will, in a sense. Not that one is the winner and one's the loser. In a tit for tat situation, it tends to turn out that way. Wouldn't you think, Jerry? Just from a practical sense?
Yeah, I would. And I don't want to state this too strongly, but Peg, I think what this manifests a little bit anyway is perhaps a bit of immaturity on the part of your husband. I hate to put it that way, but I mean, it's like what kids do, Debbie. A child will say, well, Timmy got 2 cookies and I only got 1. I mean, it's I don't know. I think it has no place in a marital. Yeah, it has no place in a marital relationship, and I don't mean to be mean or critical to your husband, Peg. I'm sorry, I don't want it to sound that way, but I would agree with Debbie. I would think that getting some kind of third-party involvement here and just get this out in the open and talk about it. And I don't know if you've had first of all, a conversation with your husband. Again, this gets back to spousal communication. It sounds like, I can't read into what you said, Peg, but there's a good chance you've brought this up with him already, and maybe that has not, advanced the conversation. So
right.
Might be good to get some third-party help.
Third-party advice. Absolutely. And the other thing, too, Jerry, is if you really believe that you're one, well, then you're one. Okay, so you're not against one another. You really have to look at this like it's the two of you together facing out into the world and going into the world. Like you say, Jerry, your sacrament is showing. Well, your sacrament is showing because the two of you are together in it. So you're not against one another. I really think getting some help on that could really help, Peg. So, but you're not alone. I went through the same thing for almost 20 years, so I can relate. Okay, Jim weighed in, and Jim says, how do I lessen my need to feel appreciated? I have missed people's gratitude because I am too busy thinking, I wonder if they even appreciate this. Wow, what do you think, Jer?
Well, it's interesting, Jim. He asked, how do I lessen my need to feel appreciated? I don't know. I think I've said a couple times during the show, I think it's inherent. I think it's hardwired into us. Sometimes maybe people can be a little overreactive in feeling maybe hurt, maybe a little oversensitive or something. Doesn't sound like you're being that way at all, Jim, but I really believe that need to be appreciated, to have people, recognize the things we do, not every little thing, that we shouldn't be complimenting somebody, every, 5 seconds or anything like that. But Jim also says, I have missed people's gratitude because I'm too busy thinking, I wonder if they even appreciate this. Maybe, Jim, just, I don't know. What comes to my mind immediately right now is perhaps try to be a little bit more conscious of this, maybe as you do this little thing or that little thing. If people are showing gratitude to you, maybe you are missing it, and I think, Debbie, because we do want to kind of deflect it because out of feeling that we're going to get puffed up or prideful or something. So, Jim, maybe you are missing some of the little attaboys that people give you because you're either not, paying attention at the time, or you just don't feel like you should be receiving those out of, just wanting to be humble. What do you think, Deb?
Yeah, I think that was well said, Jerry. The other thing, too, that I always do, Jim, I don't know if this is helpful, but whenever I'm about to embark on something that I know is going to contribute to something or someone, I normally say a little quick prayer, and I just normally say, Lord, this is for you. If it turns out that I also get, a certain affirmation from it, then so be it. But that's not my intent. And so I'll normally do that. I start that off, and it really does change the way I participate in what I do. If I go into it kind of subconsciously, just because like Jim, like I said at the beginning, I tend to be of a giving nature. If I go subconsciously into it, then sometimes I do have that same feeling. I wonder if anybody appreciates this. But if I go into it with a very intentional way where I say, Lord, this is for you. And if it turns out that my fellow human being, friend or spouse or whatever notices it, great. If not, it's ultimately for you. It changes the dynamic of it. I don't know if you've ever done that, Jerry. I actually had a religious sister teach me that. It's very interesting how you do that before you do something kind for someone else. You make that intentional directive or that intentional sense towards God first.
Yeah, I like that. Well, we have a friend, Helen, who listens to the program, and Helen sent us an email here. It says, Hi, Debbie and Jerry. I love your show as usual. Thank you, Helen. I work at a really nice mountain resort as the hostess in the restaurant. Feeling appreciated. It comes in spurts. Most times, all the employees not only respect each other for our work, even in times of tension, but we give each other appreciation now and again. I think because we all know how hard we work. We also have some good humor, like when someone lets a tray of wine glasses fall and break, there is a good amount of laughter and generous teasing. Mostly my managers appreciate me, although not always spoken, but they have a lot of their own work and do the best they can with the employees. And she goes on, she has other things to say, but That sounds like a really great place to be, Debbie. And I can imagine, in a mountain resort at a restaurant like that, very, very busy, especially during different seasons of the year. And, sometimes people who go in there as customers can expect a lot. So it sounds like Helen has a really, really nice work environment.
Yeah, and I love the sense of humor. Maybe that's where I learned my sense of humor is in the hotel restaurant industry, because you do have to keep one, because there's a lot of folks that expect way too much from the staff there at different restaurants and hotels. And so you do, when you have that sense of humor, you can laugh things off and you're all kind of in it together. And so you journey together and you kind of comfort one another. So I love that attitude. I think it's a great disposition to have, especially when you're dealing with people. People come with their set of problems and their issues, and it's tough sometimes to please everyone. And so keeping that sense of humor, I think is great. Deborah weighed in, and she's she's in healthcare, and she works a lot of hours, and she's also a senior citizen and lives alone. And she says that sometimes she doesn't feel loved or appreciated, and she tries to focus on Jesus and what he went through. Deborah, this is just from me to you. This is just my personal opinion. I think folks that work in the healthcare field, I believe you guys are going to get a special place in heaven. I just believe it. I'm telling you what I've seen, especially in my time at different hospitals and different centers, and now my mother with having dementia. You guys have a special heart. I believe it's tapped into that heart of Jesus. And I think you got to keep that bigger vision, the bigger vision of eternity, because I don't know necessarily if you're going to receive all of the love and appreciation here on earth for what you do, because I don't even think we understand half of it. What do you think, Jer?
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm very grateful that you got a hold of us, Deborah. Thank you. And Linda from India. Linda says, good evening. Thanks for the live program. God bless you watching from India. We appreciate that. And Horta, I hope I got the name right, on YouTube, asks these questions. Maybe a good way to end the program today, Debbie. Do we appreciate God's daily blessings? Do we give praise to him every day? Well, God is lavishing us with affirmations and validation at all times. We should be aware of that because, as we said, based on that stand tall theme, we are good and valuable in the eyes of God, and God is always showing us his blessings, and we just need to be consciously aware of those and be grateful for them.
Absolutely. We have so many things to be grateful for. Just the air we breathe, the clean water, the roof over our heads. I mean, just the ability to be able to be free. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what God has blessed us with on a regular daily basis. And so many of us, we go through life and we don't take that time just to really thank God. Maybe that's the other life skills exercise we need to do, Jerry, every morning, is maybe for 10 minutes, write down all of God's blessings every day, every single day, even if they're the same blessings every single day, just to keep it in the very front of our minds, of our understanding of how much God is, how much he loves us. I love that.
Yeah, I heard a quote recently. I think it was attributed to Solanus Casey, who's going to be canonized or beatified actually in 3 days. In Detroit, and the quote was something like, I think it was him, maybe it was somebody else, but gratitude should be the first, I forget what he said, the first thought or action or attitude of any creature of God. Gratitude should be our first and primary disposition, because we have been created, and the fact that we've been created means right there, right off the bat, that God loves us. And everything that God created is good. And so maybe we can just remind people again, Debbie, that registration is open for the Stand Tall Retreat. It's February 9th through 11th in Cullman, Alabama. We're looking forward to that.
Yes, please come. We'd love to see you there, and we'd love to just build our friendship together. And you can just visit that at jerryanddebbie.com, and the registration is right there as well. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about Here Comes the Holidays. That's right. If you've been in a mall recently, you've seen it's covered in holiday garland
or watching TV.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. The commercials. Here we go. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Does that bring you a sense of excitement, or maybe some blues come along with it when you think about the holidays?
All right, until then, we thank the show team, all of our affiliates. We thank you, our listeners, for making this another great Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day.